A cold welcome. The sun gleamed against the towering glass structure of the Pinnacle Hotel, a sleek modern building that stood proudly among the historic architecture of New York City. Its design was bold and elegant, a symbol of prestige and exclusivity. On the surface, it appeared to welcome only the elite, a place for those who could afford to indulge in luxury. But for Maya Holloway, standing at its entrance, the Pinnacle represented something much more profound. It was a challenge, a barrier, and soon it would be an opportunity. Maya, a black woman in her late 30s, had the kind of presence that turned heads. Her tailored charcoal suit was as sharp as her business acumen, and the confidence in her stride spoke volumes. She had built her career from the ground up, transforming a small real estate startup into a billion-dollar enterprise. Today, she was here to celebrate the fruits of her labor. A weekend at one of New York's most prestigious hotels, a well-deserved break after months of intense work. Yet, as she stood outside the Pinnacle, a familiar feeling of unease washed over her. Her assistant, Alicia Carter, followed closely behind, carrying their luggage. Alicia was more than just an assistant. She was a trusted friend who had been by Maya's side through thick and thin. She had confirmed the reservation weeks ago and made every arrangement with meticulous attention to detail. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, a premonition that gnawed at her from the moment they stepped out of the car. "Everything's set, right?" Maya asked, glancing at Alicia as they approached the grand entrance. "Absolutely," Alicia replied with a reassuring smile. "I triple-checked the reservation. You're their VIP guest for the weekend." Maya nodded, appreciating Alicia's thoroughness. The two had come a long way together, from struggling to afford an office to running one of the most successful real estate firms in the country. They had faced countless challenges, but Maya's drive and resilience had always carried them through. Yet, no matter how high she climbed, she could never quite escape the subtle prejudices that shadowed her steps. As they entered the opulent lobby, Maya took in her surroundings. High ceilings, glittering chandeliers, and polished marble floors created an ambience of grandeur. The walls were adorned with abstract art pieces, carefully chosen to reflect wealth and exclusivity. Soft classical music played in the background, adding an air of sophistication. Yet, despite the beauty of the space, Maya couldn't help but feel the weight of judgment in the glances that lingered a little too long. The receptionist behind the front desk greeted them with a polite but noticeably guarded expression. Her eyes swept over Maya, taking in her dark skin, her natural curls, and the effortless grace with which she carried herself. Maya had seen this look before, a mix of curiosity, discomfort, and subtle skepticism. "Good afternoon. How may I assist you?" the receptionist asked, her voice laced with a cool formality. "We have a reservation under Holloway." "Maya Holloway," Alicia responded confidently, stepping up to the counter. The receptionist's fingers moved over the keyboard with practiced ease, but her gaze kept flickering back to Maya. After a few moments, she looked up, her brows furrowing in confusion. "I'm not seeing a reservation under that name," she said, her voice tightening. "Are you certain about the details?" Maya felt a familiar pang of frustration, but kept her expression calm. She had encountered this sort of situation before, the sudden mistake, the unexpected mix-up. It was a tactic as old as discrimination itself, a way to subtly exclude people like her without openly acknowledging it. "I confirmed the reservation myself," Alicia replied, her tone polite but firm. "Could you please check again?" The receptionist shifted uncomfortably, her fingers hesitating on the keyboard. She picked up the phone and murmured quietly, calling over her manager. Maya's patience began to wear thin, but she maintained her composure, refusing to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her unsettled. A few moments later, a tall man with silver hair and an immaculate suit approached. His name tag read Robert Finch, manager. His practiced smile was polite, but Maya could see the guarded look in his eyes. "Good afternoon. I'm Robert Finch, the hotel manager. I understand there's been an issue with your reservation. he said, his tone laced with superficial courtesy. Maya locked eyes with him, sensing what was coming before he even spoke. She had seen this play out too many times to be surprised. There seems to have been a misunderstanding, he continued, his words coated in thinly veiled condescension. Unfortunately, we won't be able to accommodate you today. Our suites are fully booked. Alicia's eyes widened in disbelief. That's impossible. We confirmed this weeks ago. You've got. Maya raised a hand, stopping Alicia mid-sentence. She didn't need to hear the manager's excuses. She had been in this position too many times to entertain their attempts at feigned professionalism. The issue wasn't a booking error, and they both knew it. This wasn't about availability. It was about exclusion. Maya's lips curved into a polite but icy smile as she met the manager's gaze. I see, she replied calmly, her voice steady. Thank you for your time, Mr. Finch. I'll make other arrangements. Mr. Finch seemed momentarily taken aback, as though he had expected her to argue or make a scene. Instead, Maya turned on her heel and walked out, her head held high and her dignity intact. Alicia scrambled to follow her, her face flushed with indignation. This is outrageous, Maya. You can't just let them get away with this. Alicia fumed as they walked down the street. We should go to the press, call a lawyer, do something. Maya stopped, taking a deep breath to calm the storm of emotions whirling within her. She turned to Alicia, her gaze steady. Alicia, I've fought this battle my entire life. This is nothing new. But Maya, they're treating you like this because of your skin color, Alicia argued, her voice tinged with anger and sadness. You're Maya Holloway. You've earned the right to be here. Maya's face softened. She understood Alicia's frustration, but she also knew that reacting in anger would only reinforce the stereotypes they wanted her to conform to. I know, and that's exactly why I can't fight them on their terms. They expect me to get angry, to demand things. But I won't give them that satisfaction. Alicia's expression softened, though her anger didn't fully dissipate. So, what now? Maya's eyes sparkled with a glimmer of determination. Now, we regroup. We'll find another hotel for tonight. And then I have other plans for the Pinnacle. As they checked into a modest but welcoming hotel nearby, Maya sat by the window, gazing out at the New York City skyline. The Pinnacle's rejection still stung, a painful reminder that even her billion-dollar success couldn't shield her from prejudice. But she had learned long ago how to turn pain into power. As the city lights glimmered in the night, a plan began to form in her mind. A plan that would show the Pinnacle exactly who they had dismissed. They had refused her as a guest, but soon they would know her as something else entirely. Maya's lips curled into a smile as she sipped her coffee, feeling the surge of purpose rise within her. Let's see how they feel, she thought, when I'm the one signing their paychecks. This was no longer just a slight. It was an opportunity, a chance to break down another barrier. And Maya Holloway was not a woman who let opportunities slip through her fingers. The plan in motion. As the sun rose over New York City the next morning, Maya Holloway sat in her modest hotel room, her mind already racing with the details of her plan. She barely slept, but the adrenaline and anticipation were more than enough to keep her focused. The Pinnacle's rejection had lit a fire within her, one that wouldn't be extinguished until she turned the tables on those who had underestimated her. She sat at the small desk in her suite, a cup of coffee in hand, her laptop screen displaying a spreadsheet of the Pinnacle's assets and ownership structure. Maya was no stranger to high-stakes acquisitions. She knew the real estate world inside and out, especially the complexities of purchasing luxury properties. For most, the Pinnacle would have been a daunting target, but for Maya, it was merely another challenge in a long line of them. Her assistant, Alicia, entered the room carrying a stack of papers and a folder stuffed with documents. The events of the previous day still lingered on her face, her expression a mix of residual anger and determination. Alicia took a seat across from Maya, setting the papers down and folding her hands. You're really going through with this? Alicia asked, her voice tinged with both admiration and disbelief. Maya didn't look up from her screen as she replied, I am. The Pinnacle needs a new direction, and I'm going to give it to them. Alicia smirked, her frustration from the day before melting into admiration. So you're just going to swoop in and buy the hotel from under them? Maya's eyes sparkled. Not quite. It's more complicated than that. The Pinnacle is owned by an investment group that prides itself on maintaining the hotel's prestigious reputation. But what they don't realize is that their finances aren't as strong as they appear. Let me guess, Alicia said with a grin. You've already been looking into their numbers. Exactly, Maya said, turning the laptop to show Alicia a detailed financial analysis. I knew the Pinnacle was struggling even before this happened. They've had to cut corners in recent years to keep up appearances, and their profits have been steadily declining. I was already considering the acquisition as part of our expansion plan, but now it's personal. Alicia scanned the numbers on the screen, her brows lifting. You're right. This isn't the powerhouse it pretends to be. They're barely breaking even. Maya nodded. They've made some bad investments, and they're desperate to stay afloat. A few more quarters like this, and they'll have no choice but to sell. But I don't plan on waiting that long. I'm going to offer them a price they can't refuse. Alicia crossed her arms, a sly smile forming on her lips. So you're going to become the Pinnacle's new owner. And when you do, that manager will be in for the shock of his life. Maya laughed softly, her expression one of quiet resolve. Oh, I'll make sure of that. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of negotiations, meetings, and discreet inquiries. Maya moved carefully, ensuring that her interest in the Pinnacle remained under the radar. She enlisted the help of trusted advisors and leveraged her extensive network to approach the hotel's investors indirectly. Her goal was to remain anonymous until the deal was nearly complete, allowing her to surprise the management team when she revealed herself as their new owner. Every evening, Alicia would report back to Maya with updates on the progress. Each report painted a clearer picture. The investors were intrigued by the mysterious buyer who was willing to pay a generous price for the property. They didn't know it was Maya Holloway, and that was exactly how she wanted it. On one of these evenings, Alicia met Maya in their temporary office with a stack of documents. They're biting, she said, her voice filled with excitement. The investors are starting to feel the pressure. They don't know who you are, but they're seriously considering your offer. Maya's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Perfect. The Pinnacle will be ours soon enough. As the weeks passed, Maya continued to work tirelessly behind the scenes. She reviewed every detail of the acquisition contracts, ensuring that once the Pinnacle was hers, she would have full control over its operations. This wasn't just a business deal. It was an opportunity to redefine what luxury and inclusivity meant within the hospitality industry. She envisioned a place where guests would feel welcomed and valued, no matter their background. One evening, Maya and Alicia met with a group of trusted lawyers in a private conference room. The deal was approaching its final stages, and Maya wanted to ensure that everything was in place before the final signing. She sat at the head of the table, exuding a calm authority that left no room for doubt. One of the lawyers, a sharp-eyed man named Carlos, looked up from his notes. Miss Holloway, I have to say, this is one of the most impressive acquisitions I've seen. Not only are you making a strategic investment, but you're doing it with a level of discretion that's nearly unheard of. Maya smiled, her gaze steady. Thank you, Carlos. This deal is important to me. The Pinnacle isn't just another property, it's a symbol. I want it to represent something more than just luxury. I want it to represent resilience, respect, and equality. Carlos nodded, clearly moved by her words. With all due respect, I think the industry needs more leaders like you. The meeting continued, with Maya and her team going over the final details. By the time they finished, everything was in place for the acquisition. Maya felt a surge of satisfaction, knowing that soon she would hold the reins of the Pinnacle and that everyone within its walls would see her as more than a guest. A week later, The final meeting with the Pinnacle's investors took place in a private conference room at the law firm. Maya sat at the long mahogany table, flanked by her legal team. Across from her were the investors, a group of well-dressed men and women whose expressions betrayed a mix of curiosity and caution. They had no idea who she was or why she was interested in the Pinnacle, only that she was willing to pay a price they couldn't ignore. Simon Kane, the lead investor and a seasoned businessman, cleared his throat as he glanced at the contract in front of him. "Miss Holloway, I must say, your offer is unexpectedly generous. We weren't quite sure what to make of it at first, but after reviewing everything, I believe we're ready to proceed." Maya nodded, her expression neutral. "I'm pleased to hear that, Mr. Kane. I believe in making fair deals, and I think this acquisition will benefit all of us." Kane gave a tight smile, still unsure. "If I may ask, what drew you to the Pinnacle? A hotel like this is prestigious, but it's unusual to see someone willing to pay a premium for it. Do you have specific plans for the property?" Maya folded her hands, her gaze steady. "The Pinnacle has a certain significance to me, Mr. Kane. Let's just say it's more than just another hotel." The investors exchanged glances, clearly curious, but they knew better than to press further. They had already made their decision, and the promise of a substantial payout was enough to quell any lingering doubts. With a final exchange of signatures, the deal was complete. Maya Holloway was now the official owner of the Pinnacle Hotel. That evening, Maya returned to her temporary office, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. She had spent years breaking through barriers and shattering expectations. She had been denied entry, dismissed, and overlooked countless times, but she had never let those experiences define her. Now she was about to redefine the very institution that had once tried to keep her out. The next morning, Maya stood outside the Pinnacle once again. But this time, everything was different. She wasn't there as an unwelcome guest or a curious outsider. She was there as the rightful owner of the very building that had sought to deny her entry. Alicia stood beside her, a wide grin stretched across her face. "Are you ready for this?" Maya took a deep breath, adjusting her tailored jacket. "I've never been more ready." As they stepped through the grand entrance, there was no hesitation in her stride. The lobby was bustling with activity, guests checking in, and staff bustling around to attend to every need. The receptionist from her last visit was behind the counter, her face etched with professional detachment as she greeted guests. Maya approached her, noting the flicker of recognition that crossed the woman's face when she saw her. "Good morning," Maya said, her tone polite but firm. "I'm here to see Mr. Finch." The receptionist blinked, momentarily thrown off by Maya's presence. One moment, please," she stammered, picking up the phone to call the manager. Within minutes, Robert Finch appeared, his expression professional but tense. He recognized Maya instantly, but the weight of his position kept him from reacting openly. He approached with cautious politeness, extending a hand. "Miss Holloway," he said, his voice carefully measured. "What a surprise. I didn't expect to see you back here so soon." Maya didn't shake his hand, instead giving him a calm, unflinching gaze. "Mr. Finch, we need to talk. I think you'll find my presence here today is more than just a surprise." Finch looked confused, his practiced composure faltering. "Of course. Please, come this way." As he led her to his office, the revelation. Robert Finch, the manager of the Pinnacle Hotel, guided Maya Holloway through the quiet corridors toward his office. The weight of her presence was palpable, and he struggled to maintain his composure, recalling their last interaction when he had subtly dismissed her under the guise of a fully booked hotel. Maya's calm confidence as she walked beside him only heightened his unease. The entire encounter felt surreal to him. She had returned, and something about her demeanor suggested she was here on more than just personal business. As they stepped into his spacious, meticulously decorated office, Finch gestured for Maya to take a seat, though she remained standing, her gaze unwavering. "Miss Holloway," he began, nervously adjusting his tie. "I apologize if there was any inconvenience during your last visit. I assure you, the Pinnacle strives to provide exceptional service to all our guests." Maya allowed a small, knowing smile to cross her lips. "Inconvenience, Mr. Finch." Her tone was light, but her eyes were sharp. "I wouldn't call it an inconvenience. Let's call it an opportunity for reflection." Finch blinked, clearly puzzled, and Maya relished the moment. She had played this out in her mind for weeks, imagining the looks on the faces of those who had treated her as less than. Now it was time for the reveal. "Mr. Finch," she continued, crossing her arms, "I've come back to the Pinnacle for a specific reason. And no, it's not as a guest. I'm here as the new owner." A stunned silence filled the room. Finch's face went blank as the meaning of her words sank in. He opened his mouth to respond, but no sound came out. Finally, he managed to stammer, "Why, you're the new—" "Yes, Mr. Finch," Maya confirmed, her voice steady. "I own the Pinnacle now. Every inch of it, including this office you're standing in." Her gaze never wavered, holding him in place as he tried to process the weight of her words. Finch swallowed, his face a mix of shock, disbelief, and finally, a hint of dread. He had seen many wealthy guests walk through the doors of the Pinnacle, but the idea that Maya Holloway, the woman he'd dismissed and underestimated, was now his boss was more than he could digest. "Miss Holloway," he began, fumbling for words, "if I may, I apologize if my actions previously were in any way disrespectful. I assure you that was not my intent." Maya let his words hang in the air for a moment before responding. "Mr. Finch, I don't need your apologies. What I do need is for you to understand that the Pinnacle's culture, its practices, its treatment of guests, will be changing under my leadership. This hotel will no longer be a place of exclusion or elitism. My vision for the Pinnacle is to make it an inclusive space where every guest, regardless of their background, feels welcomed and valued." Finch's face flushed. He was a man who had built his career on maintaining the Pinnacle's reputation as a premier, exclusive hotel. This new vision didn't align with his traditionalist views, but Maya's presence, her authority as the new owner, left him with no choice but to nod. "I understand, Miss Holloway," he said, though his tone lacked conviction. Maya raised an eyebrow, her gaze piercing. "I hope you do, Mr. Finch, because the Pinnacle will be undergoing some significant changes, starting today, and I'll need everyone, especially the management, to be fully committed to these new standards. The era of exclusivity and veiled prejudice is over." Finch's discomfort was almost palpable, but he managed to give a stiff nod. "Of course, Miss Holloway. I'll do my best to align with your vision." "Good," Maya replied, her voice steady, "because I've already begun making arrangements to bring in a team to help transition the hotel to its new identity. And Mr. Finch, if you find that this new direction isn't something you can support, I won't hesitate to bring in new management." The implication was clear. Finch was being given an ultimatum: adapt or leave. For a moment, he looked as though he might argue, but the look in Maya's eyes held him back. She was not a woman to be challenged. He swallowed again, the words catching in his throat. "Understood, Miss Holloway," he said finally, a flicker of resignation crossing his face. As Maya left Finch's office, she felt a surge of satisfaction mixed with a sense of purpose. This was more than just reclaiming her dignity. It was about changing the culture of one of New York's most prominent hotels. She headed down the corridor, passing the receptionist from her last visit, who avoided eye contact, her face flushed with recognition and embarrassment. Maya felt a pang of empathy. She understood that not every employee was to blame for the hotel's culture. But the change had to start somewhere, and she was more than ready to lead it. Alicia was waiting for her in the lobby, her eyes bright with excitement. "How did it go?" she asked as they walked toward the exit. "Better than expected," Maya replied with a satisfied smile. Finch got the message. He'll either adapt or find himself out of a job. Alicia chuckled. unable to hide her satisfaction. That's what he deserves. After the way he treated you, I'm glad he knows who he's dealing with now. Me too, Maya agreed, pausing to look back at the grand hotel lobby. But there's more work to do. The Pinnacle needs a complete transformation, not just on paper, but in practice. It's time to assemble a team that shares our vision. Over the next few weeks, Maya worked tirelessly to bring her vision for the Pinnacle to life. She hired a new management consultant, bringing in a diverse team of experts who understood her commitment to creating an inclusive, welcoming environment. From rethinking staff training to revising the guest experience, every aspect of the hotel was reimagined under her guidance. Maya was hands-on throughout the process, ensuring that her influence was felt in every corner of the hotel. She held meetings with each department, getting to know the staff members personally and making it clear that respect and inclusivity were now the Pinnacle's top priorities. She made sure to address any lingering skepticism, encouraging the staff to embrace the new direction. One of her most significant changes was implementing a rigorous training program for the employees. The program covered everything from customer service to cultural sensitivity, teaching the staff how to treat each guest with respect and dignity. Maya knew that real change required more than just new policies. It required a shift in mindset. She also made changes to the hotel's marketing, making sure that the Pinnacle's new identity as an inclusive and diverse establishment was highlighted. No longer would the hotel cater only to the elite. Instead, it would be a place where everyone, regardless of background, could experience luxury and hospitality at its finest. One afternoon, during a staff meeting, Maya addressed the entire hotel team. The room was filled with employees of every rank, from housekeepers to senior managers, all of whom were eager to hear from their new owner. "Thank you all for being here," Maya began, her voice filled with warmth and conviction. "I know that this transition hasn't been easy for everyone, and I appreciate the hard work each of you has put into making the Pinnacle a better place. When I took over this hotel, I didn't just want to make a business investment. I wanted to create a space where people from all walks of life would feel welcome and respected." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of her employees. The Pinnacle has a legacy, but legacies are meant to evolve. This hotel is no longer just a symbol of exclusivity. It's a symbol of resilience and inclusivity. It's a place where guests should feel valued, no matter who they are. There was a murmur of agreement from the crowd, and Maya felt a swell of pride. She could see that her words were resonating, that her team was beginning to understand the depth of her commitment. As we move forward, I want each of you to remember that you are a part of this transformation. You are the face of the Pinnacle, and your actions define the guest experience. Treat every guest with respect, listen to their needs, and make them feel at home. That's what true luxury is. The room erupted in applause, and Maya felt a surge of satisfaction. She knew that there would be challenges ahead, but she was confident that she had the right team beside her. Together, they would turn the Pinnacle into a hotel that was not just admired but respected. In the weeks that followed, word of the Pinnacle's transformation began to spread. Guests who had once felt unwelcome now returned, eager to experience the new culture Maya had created. The hotel's reputation began to shift, attracting a more diverse clientele who appreciated the inclusive atmosphere. One afternoon, as Maya walked through the lobby, she noticed a familiar face. A young black woman standing at the check-in counter, speaking with a receptionist. She seemed nervous, glancing around the lobby as if she expected to be turned away. Maya recognized that look all too well. Maya approached her, offering a warm smile. "Welcome to the Pinnacle," she said, extending a hand. "I'm Maya Holloway, the owner. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to make your stay memorable." The woman looked at Maya, her eyes widening in surprise before breaking into a grateful smile. "Thank you." Transformation and redemption. As Maya greeted the young woman in the lobby, she saw a flash of recognition and gratitude in her eyes, a look she had experienced herself countless times. It was a moment that reminded Maya exactly why she was committed to transforming the Pinnacle Hotel. This wasn't merely about business or personal pride. It was about creating a sanctuary where everyone could experience dignity and respect. The woman introduced herself as Tasha, a budding artist from Atlanta who had recently gained recognition in the art world. She was in New York for her first major gallery show and had saved up for this trip, dreaming of staying at a place as grand as the Pinnacle. But as she booked her room, the memories of past humiliations, the whispered doubts, the suspicious stares, the dismissive treatment had weighed heavily on her. "Honestly, Miss Holloway," Tasha said, her voice soft, "I didn't think I'd feel comfortable here. I've always admired hotels like this from afar, but I figured they weren't meant for someone like me." Maya's heart ached as she listened, but she also felt a surge of pride for the changes she'd implemented. She took Tasha's hand, her grip firm and warm. "Tasha, let me tell you something," she said, looking directly into her eyes. "The Pinnacle is now a place where everyone belongs. You've earned your way here with your talent, your hard work, and it's my mission to make sure that people like you, people who've been underestimated, can walk in here with their heads held high." Tasha's face lit up, and Maya felt a familiar spark. She had not only welcomed a guest, she had inspired a sense of belonging and validation. As Tasha checked in and was guided to her suite, Maya watched her walk away with confidence, and in that moment, Maya knew she was fulfilling her purpose. Over the following months, the changes Maya had introduced became deeply ingrained in the hotel's culture. Training programs and regular team meetings reinforced the new standards, and Maya herself made a point to be present and accessible. She spent time in the kitchens, the housekeeping stations, and the maintenance rooms, learning each role and understanding the lives of her employees. In one of her routine meetings with the housekeeping staff, Maya met Clara, a woman in her late 50s who had been working at the Pinnacle for over a decade. Clara was one of the hotel's oldest employees, known for her meticulous attention to detail. When Maya asked for her thoughts on the recent changes, Clara looked hesitant, then finally spoke up. "I've worked here for years, Miss Holloway," Clara began, her voice laced with weariness. "I've seen managers come and go, but they all saw us as just part of the background. We were never included in the hotel's image, and sometimes we were treated like we were disposable. But things feel different now." Maya nodded, listening closely. "Clara, I want you and everyone else here to feel valued. You are the heart of this hotel. The Pinnacle wouldn't be what it is without the hard work of people like you." Clara's eyes shimmered with gratitude. "Thank you, Miss Holloway. I never thought I'd hear words like that from anyone in management. It feels good to know that my work matters." One of the most meaningful changes Maya implemented was a mentorship program that partnered employees with each other to build community and foster new skills. Housekeepers were paired with front desk agents, maintenance workers shadowed the chefs, and receptionists spent time with event coordinators. The program allowed employees to gain a broader understanding of the hotel's operations and to see themselves as integral parts of a larger whole. One day, as Maya walked through the dining area, she overheard an employee discussing their newfound aspirations with a mentor. The employee, once hesitant and unsure of their future, was now considering a managerial role, inspired by the opportunity to learn new skills. Maya felt a profound sense of satisfaction. Her hotel was no longer just a place of work. It was a place of growth and opportunity. Not everyone was as quick to embrace the changes. Robert Finch, the former manager, had initially tried to adapt to Maya's vision, but it was clear to everyone that he was struggling to adjust to the hotel's new identity. He avoided the team-building exercises, appeared distant during training sessions, and frequently questioned the inclusivity programs. While he didn't openly resist Maya's directives, his reluctance was apparent. One afternoon, Maya called him into her office. She knew the conversation wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that a strong team was essential for the Pinnacle's transformation. "Robert," she began, her tone gentle but firm, "I've noticed that you're having a hard time adjusting to the changes we've made here. I want to understand what's on your mind." Robert shifted uncomfortably, clearly caught off guard. Miss Holloway, I respect what you're trying to do here. But this inclusivity focus feels like a drastic shift. The Pinnacle was built on exclusivity, on maintaining a certain image. Maya leaned forward, her gaze intense, and that's exactly the problem. Robert, exclusivity should never come at the expense of humanity. This hotel now represents a different kind of prestige, one based on respect and value for everyone who walks through our doors. Robert met her gaze, his discomfort evident. I understand, Miss Holloway. But honestly, I don't know if I'm the right fit for this new direction. Maya nodded, her expression softening. Robert, I appreciate your honesty. The Pinnacle is evolving, and I understand if it's not the place for you anymore. If you feel that this vision isn't something you can fully support, I'll respect your decision. There was a moment of silence, a weighty pause as Robert absorbed her words. Finally, he gave a resigned nod. Perhaps it is time for me to move on. I'll make arrangements to transition my responsibilities smoothly. Maya extended her hand, and he took it, their handshake marking the end of an era. Thank you, Robert, she said sincerely. You've served the Pinnacle well, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. As he left her office, Maya felt a sense of closure. She had given him a chance, but the Pinnacle needed leaders who wholeheartedly believed in its mission. With Finch's departure, Maya promoted Clara to a senior position within housekeeping, recognizing her years of dedication and her passion for the hotel's new direction. Clara's face lit up with disbelief and joy when Maya announced the promotion, and Maya knew she had chosen wisely. I never thought I'd see the day, Clara said, wiping away a tear. Thank you, Miss Holloway. I'll do my best to make you proud. Maya smiled warmly. You've already made me proud, Clara. Now go show everyone what you're capable of. Word of the Pinnacle's transformation continued to spread, drawing attention from local media and social influencers who highlighted the hotel's commitment to inclusivity and equality. Guests who had once felt unwelcome began returning, sharing their positive experiences and recommending the Pinnacle to others. The hotel's reputation flourished, attracting a more diverse clientele who appreciated its welcoming atmosphere. But perhaps the most impactful change was the effect the Pinnacle had on the lives of its employees. The mentorship program, the team-building exercises, and Maya's unwavering support had fostered a new culture within the hotel. Staff members who had once seen their roles as merely jobs now viewed them as meaningful careers. They felt a sense of pride, of belonging, and of purpose. One evening, as Maya was heading toward her office, she passed by a group of employees who were laughing and sharing stories after their shifts. They greeted her warmly, no longer intimidated by her position, and she took a moment to chat with them. Their laughter, their camaraderie, this was the Pinnacle's new spirit, and it filled Maya with a deep sense of fulfillment. The final seal of success came one day when a reporter from a prominent New York publication reached out, requesting an interview with Maya. The reporter was interested in writing a feature about the Pinnacle's transformation and how Maya's leadership had redefined what it meant to be a luxury hotel in New York City. During the interview, the reporter asked, Miss Holloway, what inspired you to make such radical changes to the Pinnacle? Maya smiled, thinking back to that first painful encounter with Robert Finch. This hotel rejected me once, simply because I didn't fit the image they expected. But I wanted to show that true luxury isn't about exclusivity. It's about creating a space where everyone feels valued. The Pinnacle isn't just a hotel anymore. It's a place where people can feel at home, no matter who they are. The reporter nodded, clearly moved by her words. You've truly redefined what the Pinnacle stands for. I think a lot of people will be inspired by your story. As the interview concluded, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had taken the pain of rejection, transformed it into purpose, and used it to build something far greater than anyone could have imagined. That evening, Maya looked out over the New York skyline from the Pinnacle's rooftop terrace. The city lights shimmered below, a reminder of how far she had come and how much further she could go. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she was no longer driven by the need to prove herself. Instead, she was motivated by a desire to empower others, to lift them up, and to create spaces where everyone could thrive. As she stood there, the wind sweeping through her hair, Maya felt a profound sense of peace. She had turned the pinnacle into a place of belonging. And in doing so, she had reclaimed her own. This was her legacy. A legacy of resilience, of change, and of a future where everyone was welcome. The return of old faces and new partnerships. Maya's vision for the pinnacle was not only reshaping its culture, but also creating waves beyond the hotel's walls. Over the months, the pinnacle became known as the hotel where anyone could walk in with dignity and be treated with respect, regardless of their background or social status. The media continued to spotlight the transformation, calling it the pinnacle effect, and Maya received invitations to speak at conferences and events across the city. Her journey had resonated with many, particularly those who had faced prejudice or been excluded because of who they were. One morning, as Maya reviewed the latest quarterly reports in her office, Alicia entered, her face bright with excitement. "Maya, you're not going to believe who's booked a suite for the weekend." Maya looked up, intrigued by the sparkle in Alicia's eyes. "Who is it?" Alicia handed her a reservation slip with a familiar name typed across it, Robert Finch. Maya raised an eyebrow, letting out a soft laugh. "So he's decided to return. Interesting." Alicia grinned. "It looks like he's back for the conference in town. I can't believe he had the nerve to book hereafter. Well, everything." Maya leaned back in her chair, considering the implications. Robert Finch had left the pinnacle quietly after their conversation months ago. Since then, she hadn't heard from him, nor had he made any public statements about his departure. But now he was back, not as a manager, but as a guest. It was a full-circle moment, one that underscored just how much had changed. "Let's make sure Mr. Finch's stay is comfortable," Maya said, a small smile playing at her lips. "He may not recognize the pinnacle now." The weekend arrived, and with it, Robert Finch. The former manager checked in quietly, clearly keeping a low profile. Maya had instructed the staff to treat him with the same courtesy and warmth as any other guest, but she could sense their curiosity. Many of the employees remembered him as the stern manager who had resisted the hotel's new direction. His presence sparked a subtle tension, an unspoken question hanging in the air. Would he notice the changes? On his first morning, Finch ventured to the dining area for breakfast, glancing around the lobby with an expression of faint surprise. The atmosphere was noticeably different from what he'd known. The staff were not only efficient but genuinely engaged with the guests, many of whom were from diverse backgrounds. Laughter and conversation filled the air, and the familiar rigid formality of the old pinnacle had been replaced with a warmth that seemed to surprise him. Later, as he walked through the hotel, Finch stopped by the front desk. Clara, the senior housekeeper who had been recently promoted under Maya's leadership, was there, going over some guest requests with one of the front desk agents. Finch hesitated, clearly recognizing her but surprised to see her in a role he hadn't expected. "Clara," he said, a note of disbelief in his voice. "I didn't realize you were working at the front desk now." Clara smiled politely, though her eyes held a spark of quiet pride. "Yes, Mr. Finch. Miss Holloway promoted me. She's been giving a lot of us new opportunities." Finch opened his mouth to respond but seemed to falter. He gave her a curt nod, mumbling a brief congratulations, before continuing on his way. Clara watched him leave, a knowing smile tugging at her lips. She could see that he was realizing just how much had changed, and she took a quiet satisfaction in the knowledge that Maya's vision had given her the chance to grow in ways she had never imagined. Meanwhile, Maya was in her office reviewing an email from a renowned architectural firm interested in partnering with the Pinnacle. They had heard about the hotel's transformation and proposed a plan to redesign some of the public spaces to reflect the new inclusive identity. The proposal included adding more community spaces, updating the decor to reflect cultures from around the world, and creating a unique art gallery featuring local and international artists. Maya was thrilled by the proposal. She had always wanted to incorporate more diversity into the Pinnacle's aesthetics, and this partnership could bring her vision to life in ways that would be visible to everyone who walked through the doors. She quickly replied to the email, arranging a meeting with the firm to discuss the details. As she finished sending the email, Alicia entered with another update. Maya, there's a young man here who says he's an artist from Atlanta. He's been working with Tasha. She's the woman you met a few months ago in the lobby. He's hoping to show you some of his work. Maya's eyes lit up. Please, send him in. A few moments later, a young man named Malik walked into her office, carrying a large portfolio. He introduced himself nervously, but Maya's warm demeanor quickly put him at ease. Malik explained how Tasha had introduced him to the hotel after hearing about the Pinnacle's inclusive policies, and he wanted to see if his work could be displayed in the hotel's planned gallery. Maya spent the next hour going through Malik's portfolio. His art was vibrant, capturing scenes of resilience, struggle, and triumph within diverse communities. She was captivated by his talent and immediately knew that his work belonged at the Pinnacle. Malik, Maya said with a smile, I'd be honored to showcase your art here. You're exactly the kind of talent we want to highlight. Malik's face broke into a wide grin. Thank you, Miss Holloway. This means more than you can imagine. As he left her office, Maya felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Not only was she transforming the Pinnacle, but she was also helping young artists find a platform, opening doors for others who had faced the same barriers she once had. Later that afternoon, Maya walked through the hotel, observing her guests and employees. She passed the newly updated community lounge, where people from all walks of life gathered, sharing stories over coffee and admiring local artwork that now adorned the walls. The changes she had initiated were more than just aesthetic. They were reshaping the Pinnacle into a place of community and connection. As she rounded a corner, she spotted Robert Finch seated in the lounge, sipping a drink and gazing around the room with an expression of quiet amazement. She approached him, and he looked up, clearly taken aback by her presence. Miss Holloway, he said, recovering quickly. I must say, this doesn't feel like the same Pinnacle I once knew. Maya smiled, nodding. No, it's not. It's become something far more meaningful. He hesitated, as if searching for the right words. I can see that. I have to admit, I was skeptical of your changes. But seeing it now, I can't deny that there's something special here. Something inclusive. Maya's gaze softened. That was the goal, Robert. People want to feel like they belong, that they're welcome. The Pinnacle wasn't built on that foundation before, but now it is. Finch nodded, a hint of regret in his eyes. I underestimated you, Miss Holloway, and I underestimated the potential of this hotel. I spent so much time protecting an image that I forgot what true hospitality means. Maya inclined her head. It's never too late to learn, Robert. I hope you find a way to carry that lesson with you, wherever you go next. There was a long pause as he absorbed her words. Then he extended his hand. Thank you, Miss Holloway, for everything. Maya shook his hand, sensing the sincerity in his gesture. He had been resistant, but the Pinnacle's transformation had reached him too, challenging his old beliefs. She could see that he was humbled, perhaps even grateful for the lesson. That evening, Maya hosted an intimate reception in the newly refurbished lounge, inviting guests, staff, and local artists to celebrate the Pinnacle's transformation. The space was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee, creating an atmosphere of warmth and unity. Tasha and Malik were both present, mingling with other guests, sharing their art and stories with anyone who was interested. Clara, now a senior team member, introduced herself to newcomers, proudly sharing the story of how the Pinnacle had changed under Maya's leadership. As the night continued, Maya took a moment to stand back and observe the scene before her. This was her vision brought to life, a place where people of all backgrounds could gather, find inspiration, and feel at home. She had taken the rejection she once faced and transformed it into something beautiful, something that resonated with others. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Alicia, who was on her way to join the celebration. The message read, "Maya, you did it. The pinnacle is everything you dreamed of." Smiling to herself, Maya put her phone away and returned to the crowd, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had not only created a sanctuary for others, but had also redefined what it meant to be a leader, showing the world that success was not about exclusivity or elitism, but about lifting others up and making room for everyone. As she mingled with her guests, exchanging stories and laughter, she knew that the pinnacle would continue to grow and evolve, serving as a beacon of hope, resilience, and unity. This was only the beginning of its legacy, a legacy she was proud to have built from the ground up. A legacy of change. As the night wore on, the Pinnacle's Grand Lounge glowed with the warmth of community and unity. The crowd had swelled, and guests who had come to the Pinnacle seeking a quiet retreat found themselves drawn into the celebration. Maya moved through the room with an effortless grace, exchanging smiles, hugs, and stories with everyone she encountered. The transformation of the Pinnacle was complete, but Maya knew that the journey for this new chapter had only just begun. Toward the end of the evening, as the crowd began to thin, Maya found herself in a quiet corner of the lounge, looking out over the city skyline. The glittering lights of New York reflected in the glass, symbolizing the countless dreams she had pursued to get to this moment. She had turned a place that once rejected her into a thriving, inclusive establishment, one that stood as a testament to her journey and the countless others like her. Alicia joined her, a glass of champagne in hand. "You did it, Maya," she said softly, her voice filled with admiration. "This place, it's everything you said it would be and more. I don't think even I fully realized what you had in mind." Maya smiled, grateful for Alicia's unwavering support. "Thank you, Alicia. I couldn't have done any of this without you." They stood in companionable silence, watching as the last of the guests trickled out, leaving only the hotel staff and a few close friends behind. Maya was preparing to head back to her office when she noticed Tasha, the young artist she had met months before, hesitantly approaching with Malik by her side. Both wore expressions of awe and gratitude, their eyes bright with excitement. "Maya," Tasha began, her voice tinged with emotion. "Thank you. You've given us a space to share our art, our stories. It's more than we could have ever hoped for." Maya reached out and embraced them both. "The Pinnacle is as much yours as it is mine," she said. "You're a part of this family now, and I want you to keep sharing your gifts with the world." Malik looked at her with uncontained excitement. "I've been inspired to start a new series, one that captures resilience and unity. I'd love to exhibit it here first, if that's okay with you." Maya's face lit up with pride. "Nothing would make me happier, Malik. Bring your art here, whenever you're ready." As they chatted about ideas for future exhibitions and community events, Maya felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She knew that the Pinnacle was no longer just a hotel. It was a place of inspiration and opportunity. And she had opened the doors not only for herself, but for a generation of artists, dreamers, and trailblazers who needed someone to believe in them. In the following weeks, the Pinnacle became a beacon of cultural enrichment and inclusivity in the heart of New York City. Maya had commissioned local artists, musicians, and poets to share their talents in the hotel's community spaces. Every Friday night, the Pinnacle hosted open mic events, transforming the once exclusive lounge into a stage where individuals from all walks of life could share their voices. Clara, who had become one of Maya's closest confidants, organized a mentorship program for young hospitality professionals from underrepresented communities, offering them hands-on training and career guidance. Maya felt that, with each passing day, the Pinnacle was evolving beyond her original vision, growing into something more meaningful than she had ever anticipated. One Saturday afternoon, as Maya was overseeing preparations for a new art exhibit, she received a call from a prestigious hospitality magazine requesting an interview. They wanted to do an in-depth feature on the Pinnacle, focusing on its transformation and impact on the community. The article would delve into her journey as a Black woman in a field where inclusivity was often just a marketing term. The interview took place in the lounge, where Maya shared her experiences. From the initial rejection, she faced to the journey of reshaping the Pinnacle's culture. As she spoke, memories of her mother's sacrifices and resilience surfaced, and Maya knew that her mother's spirit was a constant presence in everything she did. "My mother always told me that success wasn't about having more than others," Maya said during the interview, her voice steady but filled with emotion. She said it was about creating opportunities and lifting others up with you. "That's the legacy I want to leave here." The journalist looked moved, clearly struck by Maya's authenticity and passion. "It sounds like the Pinnacle has become more than just a hotel," she commented. "It's almost like a living testament to your own life story." Maya smiled softly. "I suppose it is. This place has become a reflection of what I believe in: equality, resilience, and community. It's a legacy I hope will inspire others to create spaces that bring people together." The Pinnacle's impact began to reach beyond New York City. The hospitality industry took notice, and Maya was invited to speak at several conferences and panels. Her insights on inclusive hospitality practices and community engagement resonated with audiences worldwide, inspiring other hoteliers to reconsider their own values and approaches. During one conference, a young woman approached her, eyes shining with admiration. "Miss Holloway, I'm studying hotel management, and I've always felt out of place. Seeing you, hearing your story, it makes me believe I can succeed in this industry too." Maya's heart swelled with pride as she shook the young woman's hand. "Never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong," she said firmly. "You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And remember, success is about staying true to yourself, no matter what." As the Pinnacle thrived, Maya continued to expand her vision, partnering with charitable organizations to support underserved communities. The hotel hosted fundraising galas and awareness events, donating portions of its profits to local shelters, youth programs, and cultural initiatives. The Pinnacle was no longer just a luxurious escape. It had become a catalyst for change, a place where people gathered not only for comfort, but to contribute to something bigger than themselves. One evening, during a charity event, Maya stood at the center of the room, surrounded by friends, colleagues, and supporters. The event had drawn guests from across the city, each eager to support the cause and witness the transformative spirit of the Pinnacle. As the evening's program began, Alicia took the stage and invited Maya to speak. With a microphone in hand, Maya looked out over the crowd, her gaze landing on Clara, Malik, Tasha, and countless others who had become an integral part of the Pinnacle's journey. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice filled with emotion. "When I first came to the Pinnacle, it was a place that didn't welcome me. I was made to feel as though I didn't belong. But instead of accepting that, I chose to create a place where everyone could belong, where everyone could thrive." The room erupted in applause, the sound echoing against the high ceilings. Maya took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment to fully absorb the magnitude of what she had accomplished. "This journey hasn't been easy, but it's been worth every challenge," she continued. "I want the Pinnacle to stand as a reminder that no matter how the world may try to limit us, we have the power to rise above it. We have the power to rewrite our own stories, to transform the spaces we inhabit, and to build legacies that lift others up." Maya's words resonated deeply, bringing tears to the eyes of many in the room. The Pinnacle had become more than a hotel. It had become a symbol of resilience, a place of healing and growth. Maya's journey, her vision, had sparked a ripple effect, inspiring countless others to pursue their own dreams with courage and compassion. As the applause filled the room, Maya felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The Pinnacle was no longer just a hotel. It was her legacy, a testament to her mother's strength, her own perseverance, and the countless individuals who had contributed to its transformation. As the evening drew to a close, Maya stood by the entrance, bidding farewell to the guests and thanking them for their support. Each handshake, each word of gratitude, solidified her commitment to continue expanding the Pinnacle's impact, to carry forward the values that had brought her this far. Long after the guests had left, Maya remained in the lobby, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. She felt her mother's presence, a warmth that reassured her she was on the right path. As she turned to head back to her office, Clara approached her with a soft smile. "You've done something incredible here, Maya. Your mother would be so proud." Maya nodded, her heart full. "Thank you, Clara. I couldn't have done it without you and everyone else who believed in this vision." With that, Maya walked down the grand hallway, the hotel's lights casting a warm glow around her. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that the Pinnacle would continue to stand as a beacon of hope and transformation. And in the quiet of that moment, as she walked through the place she had once been rejected from, Maya knew that she had found her true calling: to create spaces where every person could feel like they belonged, to build a legacy that would inspire generations to come. This was her story. This was her pinnacle.